The morning sun peeked through the thin curtains as Eleanor, a frail 78-year-old woman with soft silver hair and eyes full of warmth, struggled to fold her favorite shawl. Her hands trembled slightly, not from age alone, but from fear. Her adopted daughter, Melissa, had been strangely quiet all morning. She spoke only in short, clipped sentences, avoiding Eleanor's eyes as she helped her pack a small bag. Eleanor's heart sank. Why just one bag? She thought. The house was small, yes, but it held a lifetime of memories. Her late husband's watch, the photo albums, the rose-patterned teacups she adored. "Mom," Melissa finally said, forcing a smile, "we're going for a drive today. You'll like it, I promise." Eleanor tried to smile back, but her chest tightened. She'd heard stories from her friends, stories about children taking their elderly parents for a drive only to drop them off at nursing homes. She swallowed hard, pushing away the thought. Melissa had always been kind, hadn't she? As the car started down the quiet road, Eleanor looked out the window. The trees blurred into streaks of green and gold, but her mind replayed years of love and laughter. She remembered the day she brought Melissa home from the orphanage, a shy, 6-year-old girl with tear-streaked cheeks and a tiny backpack. "You're safe now," Eleanor had whispered, wrapping the girl in her arms. "You're my daughter." For years they had been inseparable. Melissa grew up into a bright young woman, and Eleanor couldn't have been prouder. But lately, things had changed. Melissa seemed distant, always busy, her laughter replaced by sighs of exhaustion. The silence in the car grew heavy. Eleanor glanced at the dashboard clock. They'd been driving for nearly an hour. "Sweetheart," she said softly, "where are we going?" Melissa's grip on the steering wheel tightened. "It's a surprise, Mom, don't worry." But worry was all Eleanor could do. Her eyes darted to a sign on the road. Maplewood Care Home, 2 miles ahead. Her breath hitched. Her wrinkled hands clutched her shawl tighter. "Melissa, please tell me we're not going there." Melissa didn't answer. Eleanor's voice quivered. "If I've done something wrong, if I'm too much trouble, just say it, darling. But don't take me away from my home." Melissa's eyes glistened, but she kept driving. "Mom, please. Trust me." Tears welled up in Eleanor's eyes as her worst fears echoed inside her mind. She looked at the passing trees, the fading horizon, and whispered a prayer. "God, please, don't let this be how my story ends." Then suddenly Melissa took a sharp turn, away from the nursing home road. Eleanor blinked in confusion as the car veered onto a small countryside path lined with wildflowers. "Melissa?" she whispered. Melissa finally smiled through tears. "Mom, we're not going to a nursing home. I'm taking you somewhere special." They pulled up in front of a small white cottage surrounded by a blooming garden. A wooden sign by the gate read, "Eleanor's Haven." Eleanor gasped. Her trembling hand flew to her mouth as she stared in disbelief. Melissa turned to her, eyes shining. "You always said you wanted to spend your last year somewhere peaceful, surrounded by flowers. I sold my apartment and used the savings to build this place for you." Eleanor's tears spilled freely. "Oh, my dear, I thought—" "I know what you thought," Melissa interrupted gently, "but I'd never send you away, Mom. You gave me a home when I had no one. This is my turn to give one back." Eleanor sobbed softly, holding her daughter's hands, feeling the warmth she thought she'd lost. And as the breeze carried the scent of roses through the air, she whispered, "You've made an old woman's dream come true." Eleanor stepped out of the car, her old knees trembling but her heart racing with wonder. The scent of lavender and fresh earth filled the air as birds sang from the oak trees surrounding the little cottage. It was everything she'd ever dreamed of, peaceful, quiet, and full of life. Melissa came around and gently held her arm, helping her up the cobblestone path. "Careful, Mom," she said softly. "I know it's not perfect yet, but it's all yours." Eleanor's eyes wandered over the wooden fence painted white, the tiny garden already blooming with roses, daisies, and sunflowers. "You had built this?" she asked in disbelief. Melissa nodded with a smile that trembled at the edges. "I did. I've been working on it for months. Every weekend. Every spare penny. I wanted you to have a place where you could wake up to birds instead of city noise." Tears welled in Eleanor's eyes again, but this time they weren't from fear. They were from gratitude. She touched the front door gently, noticing a little sign hanging above it that read, "Welcome home, Mom." Her lips quivered as she stepped inside. The interior smelled faintly of new wood and cinnamon. The walls were soft cream, the curtains pale yellow, just the way Eleanor had always loved. A rocking chair sat by the window, and on the table lay a framed photograph of a much younger Eleanor, holding a little girl in pigtails, Melissa, at age 6. Eleanor reached for the frame, her fingers brushing over the glass. "You kept this picture," she whispered. Melissa smiled faintly. "It's the day you took me home. I never forgot it." They spent the afternoon exploring each room. There was a cozy kitchen with checkered curtains, a small bedroom painted light blue, and a back porch that opened to a wide field of grass. Every inch of the cottage felt like love had built it. Eleanor's heart swelled with every step. Yet beneath her joy a flicker of guilt stirred. She turned to Melissa. "My darling, this must have cost so much. You shouldn't have—" But Melissa stopped her gently. "Don't say that, Mom. You're the reason I know what love feels like. When everyone else saw me as an orphan, you saw me as a daughter. How could I ever repay that?" Eleanor smiled, but there was sadness behind her eyes. She remembered the days when Melissa was a teenager, angry and lost after Eleanor's husband had passed. There had been shouting, tears, and slammed doors. But even then, Eleanor had never given up on her. And now, seeing Melissa's grown-up face filled with kindness, she realized that every sleepless night, every sacrifice had been worth it. "You already repaid me," Eleanor said softly, "by becoming the woman you are today." They spent the evening unpacking the few things Eleanor had brought. As the sun dipped below the horizon, the golden light spilled across the fields. Melissa prepared tea while Eleanor sat by the window, watching the last rays of sunlight kiss the flowers. "It's beautiful here," she murmured. "I feel like your father would have loved this place too." Melissa's eyes softened. "I built that garden with him in mind," she said quietly. "I planted his favorite roses right under your window." Silence lingered between them for a while, comfortable, warm. Then Melissa spoke again, hesitantly. "Mom, I know things have been hard lately. I've been working a lot, and maybe I haven't been there as much as I should have, but I want to make things right." Eleanor reached for her hand. "You already have, sweetheart. You're here now. That's all that matters." As night settled over the cottage, the stars began to twinkle. Melissa lit a small lamp, and its soft glow wrapped the room in warmth. She watched her mother hum an old lullaby while knitting, a song she used to sing to her when she was a child afraid of the dark. It made Melissa's heart ache with nostalgia. Later, when she tucked Eleanor into bed for the first night in the new home, Eleanor took her hand and whispered, "Promise me something." Melissa bent closer. "Anything, Mom." Eleanor smiled faintly. "Promise me you'll visit often. I don't want to be alone here." Melissa hesitated just a second too long. "Of course, Mom," she whispered. "I promise." But as she turned off the lamp and stepped outside into the cool night air, her face grew heavy with worry. She leaned against the wall, looking up at the stars, and whispered to herself, "Please let this work out. Please let her be happy here." She didn't notice the single tear that slid down her cheek. The first night in the new cottage was quiet, almost eerily so. Eleanor lay in her bed, feeling the softness of the sheets against her frail skin, but sleep wouldn't come easily. Her mind replayed the drive earlier that day, the fear, the doubts, and then the breathtaking surprise. She glanced out the window at the moonlit garden and could see the faint shimmer of dew on the roses. A sense of calm began to replace the anxiety she had felt for weeks. Yet a tiny knot of unease lingered in her chest. Downstairs, Melissa was sitting in the small living room, staring at the fireplace that had yet to be lit. The flickering lamplight cast gentle shadows across her face as she held a small, worn notebook. She hesitated, fingers brushing over the pages before she whispered softly to herself, "I hope she'll love this. I hope she'll forgive me for the surprises I couldn't explain." Melissa had a secret, one she hadn't yet told Eleanor. Over the past months, she had been quietly managing 2 jobs, saving every penny she could. Part of the plan had been to create this haven for Eleanor, but there was more. Melissa had arranged for a nurse to visit a few times a week. Not because Eleanor needed constant care, but because she wanted her mother to have company, someone to share stories with, and to ensure that no moment of her life here felt lonely. Eleanor, unaware of any of this, shifted in her bed, pulling the covers closer. She thought about the old apartment she had lived in before, how cold the walls had felt after her husband passed, how the neighbors were polite but distant. Here, for the first time in years, she felt like she belonged somewhere, like every brick and flower had been placed to echo her own heartbeat. She whispered Melissa's name softly, as though speaking it aloud could assure her that this moment was real. Melissa. The name carried a lifetime of memories, the laughter, the tears, the quiet moments of understanding. A sigh escaped her lips, part relief, part wonder. She hadn't realized how much she had missed feeling safe. Downstairs, Melissa carefully folded the notebook, a small smile touching her lips. She remembered the day she had discovered an old stack of Eleanor's journals tucked away in a drawer. Pages filled with dreams, stories of her childhood, hopes for the future, even little wishes Eleanor had never mentioned aloud. Melissa had taken meticulous notes, then begun designing the cottage and garden to reflect every detail, every unspoken desire. The roses, the rocking chair, the cozy little kitchen, all of it inspired by Eleanor's past. Every corner built with love. Upstairs, Eleanor drifted into half-sleep, her mind wandering to old memories she had nearly forgotten. The laughter of Melissa as a child, their first Christmas together, the rainy afternoons spent reading stories aloud. Each memory pulled a smile from her lips, and she finally felt the weight of loneliness lift. She curled into the pillows, breathing in the faint scent of fresh flowers that had followed her from the garden, through the open window. Suddenly, a soft knock on her bedroom door startled her. "Mom?" Melissa's voice was quiet, gentle. "I just wanted to make sure you're comfortable." Eleanor's heart skipped a beat. She hadn't expected to hear her daughter's voice again so soon, but hearing it calmed her. I'm fine, dear," she whispered. "Everything is perfect." Melissa stepped inside, holding a small tray with a cup of warm tea and a slice of lemon cake. Eleanor's eyes widened. "Oh, Melissa, you didn't have to." "I wanted to," Melissa said simply, placing the tray on the bedside table. "You've done so much for me. Now it's my turn." She reached out and gently tucked a blanket around Eleanor's shoulders, lingering for a moment. "Sleep well, Mom. Tomorrow I'll show you the garden at sunrise. It's something you won't want to miss." Eleanor nodded, sipping the tea slowly. Each sip was a reminder that love could be quiet, simple, and yet profound. As Melissa left, closing the door softly behind her, Eleanor felt a warmth spread through her chest that had nothing to do with the tea. She closed her eyes and whispered into the quiet night, "Thank you, my darling. Thank you for seeing me, for loving me." Outside, Melissa paused by the window, watching her mother sleep peacefully. A tear slipped down her cheek, and she whispered to the stars, "I hope I've done enough. I hope this home gives her the happiness she deserves." Little did Eleanor know, the coming days would reveal surprises even greater than the garden, the cottage, and the cozy rooms. Secrets of love, devotion, and a daughter's unyielding commitment to her mother were yet to unfold. But for now, under the soft glow of moonlight, mother and daughter both felt a quiet, almost sacred, sense of belonging, an understanding that no matter the trials of life, their bond was unbreakable. The morning sun spilled over the horizon like liquid gold, filling Eleanor's new home with warmth and light. She awoke to the soft chirping of birds and the faint fragrance of roses drifting through the open window. For the first time in years, she felt truly awake, as if life itself had offered her a second chance. Her eyes fluttered open and she smiled, remembering the surprise of yesterday, the wonder of the little cottage, and the love that had built it all. Melissa was already outside, tending to the garden with gentle hands. Eleanor rose carefully, easing herself out of bed, and slipped into her slippers. The floor felt cool beneath her feet, a comforting contrast to the warmth in her chest. She opened the door to the garden, stepping onto the dewy grass. The flowers sparkled with morning light, each petal seeming to hum with life. Butterflies drifted lazily among the blooms, and the air was filled with a symphony of nature's whispers. Melissa looked up from the roses and smiled warmly. "Good morning, Mom. Did you sleep well?" Eleanor nodded, tears threatening to spill. "Better than I have in a long time," she admitted softly. Her eyes wandered across the garden. Every flower, every stone path, every carefully placed bench seemed to tell a story of love, of memory, of healing. "I planted the roses your husband loved," Melissa said quietly. "I thought You'd like to see them first thing. Eleanor moved closer, running her fingers over the delicate petals, feeling their softness, and inhaled their sweet scent. Memories of her husband flooded back, the afternoon spent in their old garden, his laughter mingling with the rustle of leaves, his hands in hers as they planted bulbs together. She closed her eyes, letting the nostalgia wrap around her like a warm blanket. Melissa guided her toward a small fountain at the center of the garden, its gentle trickle adding a musical undertone to the morning. I wanted you to have a place to remember, to dream, and to feel at peace, Melissa said. Eleanor's eyes glistened with tears. You've given me more than I ever imagined, Melissa. You've given me life again. They spent the morning planting new flowers together, each seed a symbol of hope and renewal. Eleanor laughed softly, feeling the earth crumble beneath her fingers, relishing the simplicity of the work. It reminded her of the afternoons she had spent with Melissa when she was a child, teaching her to plant tulips, coaxing life from tiny seeds, celebrating even the smallest blooms. And now the roles had reversed. Melissa was guiding her mother, nurturing her spirit as she had once nurtured a child. As the sun climbed higher, Eleanor paused by a small wooden bench under a blooming cherry tree. She sat down and watched Melissa carefully prune the roses, noticing how her daughter's brow furrowed in concentration, the way her hair caught the sunlight. A wave of love and pride surged through her. Melissa, she said softly, I can't believe you've done all this. How did you manage? Melissa wiped her hands on her apron and shrugged, smiling. It wasn't easy. I wanted everything perfect for you. I saved every penny, worked extra hours, and kept planning little by little. Every flower, every stone, every room in this house, I did it all for you. Eleanor reached for her daughter's hand, squeezing it gently. You've outdone yourself, sweetheart. You've given me the gift of life and love. For a moment they stood in silence, the garden humming around them. Then Melissa's expression softened, her voice barely above a whisper. Mom, there's more. I've arranged for someone to visit you a few times a week. Someone who can share stories, help with little things so you'll never feel alone. I know you value independence, so I wanted it to be gentle, not intrusive, just company when you want it. Eleanor's eyes widened, her heart swelling. She had expected fear, loneliness, maybe even sadness, but not this. Her daughter had thought of everything. She was overwhelmed with gratitude and love, feeling a depth of connection she hadn't realized she'd missed. As they continued to work in the garden, Eleanor realized something profound. This wasn't just a new home. It was a sanctuary, a place where her heart could heal, where every day could bring peace and joy. And most importantly, it was a testament to the unwavering love of her daughter, the woman she had raised, who had grown into someone even more remarkable than she had imagined. By the time the afternoon sun began to dip, casting long shadows across the garden, Eleanor felt lighter than she had in years. The garden wasn't just filled with flowers, it was filled with hope, laughter, and the promise of new beginnings. She turned to Melissa, tears of joy streaming down her cheeks. You've created a miracle, my darling. A true miracle. Melissa hugged her tightly, whispering, You deserve it, Mom. You've given me everything. This is just the start of our life here, together. The days that followed in Eleanor's new home were filled with quiet wonder and gentle routines. She awoke each morning to the songs of birds and the aroma of fresh flowers, stepping onto the dewy grass to greet a world that had been crafted entirely for her. Melissa was always nearby, ensuring her mother's comfort while giving her the space to feel independent. And yet, Eleanor couldn't shake the lingering sense that there was something more, something she had not yet discovered. One morning, as sunlight painted the garden in shades of gold, Eleanor noticed Melissa carrying a small wrapped box from the cottage. Her curiosity piqued, Eleanor approached her daughter. What's that, dear? She asked softly. Melissa smiled, placing the box gently on the wooden table beneath the cherry tree. Just a little surprise, Mom, she said, brushing a loose strand of hair behind her ear. Eleanor's hands trembled slightly as she untied the ribbon. Inside was a delicate handmade scrapbook, its cover embroidered with the words, Our memories, our love. Eleanor's eyes welled with tears. She opened the first page and found photographs of their life together, the day she had brought Melissa home from the orphanage, Melissa's first birthday cake, holidays filled with laughter, rainy afternoons reading stories, and countless quiet moments of shared smiles. Between each photograph were handwritten notes from Melissa, detailing little memories, lessons, and words of gratitude. Eleanor's breath caught in her throat. Each page was a testament to a love that had grown steadily over decades, a love that had overcome fear, uncertainty, and even distance. Melissa knelt beside her mother, her voice trembling. "I wanted you to see, Mom. All the moments we've shared, all the ways you've shaped my life. I wanted to give back some of the love you've given me, all in one place." Eleanor pressed the scrapbook to her chest, tears spilling freely. "Oh, Melissa, this is more than I could have imagined, more than I ever dreamed. You've given me not just a home, but a lifetime of memories wrapped in love." The afternoon sunlight filtered through the leaves, and Eleanor felt a warmth deeper than any she had known. It wasn't the warmth of the sun or the comfort of the house. It was the warmth of knowing she was loved, truly loved, without condition or reservation. Her heart swelled with gratitude for the daughter who had once been a frightened child in need of a home, and who now stood before her, strong, generous, and devoted. Suddenly, the sound of a car pulling up broke the quiet. Eleanor looked toward the driveway, startled. Melissa's face lit up with excitement. "Wait right here, Mom," she said, hurrying toward the car. Moments later, she returned, helping a young woman out of the passenger seat. Eleanor's eyes widened in disbelief. Standing there was her granddaughter, Leela, the daughter of a childhood friend of Melissa's, someone Eleanor had never met but had only heard stories about. Melissa had arranged for Lila to come live nearby, so Eleanor could have the joy of seeing a young life blossom in her garden, someone to share stories with, laugh with, and nurture. Eleanor's heart overflowed. She embraced Lila, feeling a rush of emotions, joy, surprise, and the comforting knowledge that her days would now be filled with new beginnings. She turned to Melissa, tears streaking her face. "You've thought of everything," she whispered. "You've built a home, a family, a future. All for me." Melissa smiled, her own tears glistening. "You've given me everything, Mom. I wanted to return it in ways that would make you happy every single day. You deserve nothing less." The garden seemed to hum around them, alive with love, laughter, and the promise of days filled with warmth. Eleanor realized then that she had been mistaken about the drive that had terrified her so deeply. She had feared loss, abandonment, and loneliness, but Melissa had given her the exact opposite: belonging, security, and a love that could never fade. As evening fell, Eleanor sat on her porch with Melissa and Lila, watching the sun dip below the horizon. The roses glowed faintly in the twilight, their fragrance mingling with the cool air. Eleanor leaned her head against her daughter's shoulder, feeling a sense of peace she hadn't known in years. This is more than I ever imagined," she whispered. Melissa kissed her forehead softly. "It's just the beginning, Mom. Our days ahead will be filled with love, stories, and happiness. That's my promise." And in that moment, Eleanor understood something profound. Home isn't just walls or furniture. It's love. It's family. It's the devotion that fills the space between hearts. And as she looked at her daughter and granddaughter, Eleanor knew she would never be alone again.